Hello everyone. In this video we will discuss about deadlock avoidance. So already we know about how to prevent the deadlock. So we need to deny any one of the necessary conditions for the deadlock occurrence. So as we discussed, there are actually four necessary conditions in order to get the deadlock. First one is mutual exclusion, then hold and wait, no preemption, and the circular wait. At least any one of the condition was denied, then we can say deadlock will not occur in the system. Otherwise, we can also say the system will exist in a safe state. Suppose if you are following any of these methods to prevent the deadlock, we also facing some disadvantages like resource has been utilized uh, not well, which mean resource utilization is very low in case of deadlock prevention methods, because we need to allocate all of the resources at the beginning itself, but this particular process will use only the last resources finally, which means it has to perform after completing all the set of tasks only at the last task it will use that particular resource. So which means the other process which needs that particular resource will be waiting for a long time, so it may also leads to deadlock. So we are actually getting the poor resource utilization in case of deadlock prevention, so it will degrade the system throughput. So we are going for the alternative method, which is nothing but deadlock avoidance. So how we are not allowing the deadlock to occur in the system, so this is another way, which is nothing but deadlock avoidance. So let us see that. So in this deadlock avoidance, the main thing is we need to the which means the operating system has to take care of some additional information about the process, which means how many number of resources it needs to perform its task, and what are all the different types of resources it needs, so which resources it needs and how many number of resources it needs. All these additional information should be required before allocation of any resources to the process. This is what the thing which we need for avoiding the deadlock. So here also we have to follow some of the methods to avoid the deadlock. First, we have to check whether the system exists in safe state or not. If it is in safe state, then we can say no deadlock will occur in the system. Suppose if the system changes from safe state to unsafe state, then we can say deadlock will occur in the system. So how can we detect that particular system leads to an unsafe state? So that is what we're going to discuss with one example. So let us see. So here this particular diagram will explains about how the system will be exist in safe state and unsafe state. So here this particular diagram represents in safe state we never get deadlock, but a deadlock will occur only in unsafe state. If the system is in unsafe state, then it may leads to deadlock, but in safe state the deadlock will not occur. Okay, so here uh, we have actually 12 number of tape drives. So we have initially we have 12 number of tape drives in the system, and now any one of the process or there might be some set of process which needs the same resources, not at once, but it needs some instances of this resource type. We have actually 12, so that could be the instance number of instance of this resource type tape drives. Now, let us take one example. Here we have three number of process P0, P1 and P2, and their maximum needs which are nothing but the total number of resources that it needs to perform its entire task. That is what maximum needs. So here the maximum needs are 10 for the process P0, 4 for the process P1, 9 for the process P2. Now, how we are allocating the resources to these set of process? Okay, so we should denote what are all the additional information it needs, which is nothing but how many number of resource type it needs actually to complete its task. Okay, so it needs 10 tape drives, and this one it needs 4, and this one it needs 9 tape drives, but we have only totally 12 tape drives. So among these 12 tape drives, how we are going to split the number of tape drives among these three number of process? So that is what, so in which sequence it has to be executed, so that is another thing. So how we are allocating the resources is the first step to be noted, and the second step is in which sequence the process has to be executed. That also we need to decide, which means operating system should take care of all these things. First, it should decide how many number of resources should be allocated to each and every process. And the next step, it has to decide in which order all these processes must be executed. Okay, so we may have all the number of processes in the ready queue, so one by one we will be scheduling all these processes to CPU for execution, but in which order it has to be executed, so we should decide, the operating system should decide all these things, so that it will avoid the deadlock very easily. Okay, so in this given example, we have the maximum needs and the current needs, which are nothing but how many number of resources we have allocated currently to each and every process. So in this 12 tape drives, so we have allocated only 5 number of tape drives to the first process, that is P0, and 2 number of tape drives to the second process P1, and 2 number of tape drives has been allocated to P2 process. But what is the maximum need of this um, P naught process, which is nothing but 10? So in that we have allocated only 5, so remaining the number of resources how many it needs, which is nothing but 5. As well as we have allocated only 2, so the remaining number of resources which it needs, which is nothing but 2. And we have allocated only 2, so the remaining number of resources how many number of resources it may require, which is nothing but 7. We have allocated only 2, so the remaining number of resources it should require, which is nothing but 7. So here what happens, this is what the first step. So we got all the additional information, and in that, with that information, we have allocated all the resources to some extent. Okay, we have not allocated the entire number of resources to all the process, so only partially we have allocated, right? Now we have actually the remaining number of tape drives which we have, which is nothing but 3. So in this 12 we have allocated 5 plus 2, that is 7 plus 2 9. So remaining 3 tape drives that are available. Okay, remaining 3 tape drives we have that are available, and we have allocated the 9 tape drives to all these 3 processes. Now in which order it should be executed, so that was the second step. P1, P0, P2. So in this order, if you follow the sequence of execution, right, then we can say the system is in safe state. Deadlock will never occur in the system if you follow this particular sequence. Okay, first P1 should be executed. So how many resources we have allocated initially, that is 2. So the remaining number of resources how many it needs, which is nothing but 2, because totally the maximum needs of the resources of P1 is nothing but 4. So we have allocated only 2. The remaining number of resources, which is nothing but 2, we have actually 3. So the available tape drives, which are nothing but 3, we can allocate to P1 process. So the remaining resources has been allocated, so 2 plus 2, which is nothing but 4. So it achieved the target, which means the maximum needs it has been allocated. So it completes its entire task, and after using all the resources it has to release it. That is what the sequence of execution of all the resources by the process, right? So it has to release it, so it will release 4 number of resources at the end of process P1, right? At the end of process P1, once it completes its execution, it will release the total number of resources whatever has been allocated. So here it is 4, so 4 number of resources has been released. Now what is the second process which we have to execute, that is P0. So in the same order if you execute, so we can say that safe state will occur. So P0 is the second process. So if you go and check it with the remaining number of resources for that process is 5, because already we have allocated 5. So the remaining number of resources which are nothing but 5. So 5 plus 5, 10. So maximum needs has been achieved. So after using all these resources, it will release 10. It will release 10. So how we have allocated 5, though we got actually 4 number of resources by the process P1, and already we have 1 resources, because only 2 resources we have allocated. So already we have 1. So totally we got 5 number of resources after the completion of the process P1. So we can allocate all the remaining available resources to the process P0, and we got actually 10 number of resources. And now what is the third process to be executed, that is P2. So we have allocated already only 2, so the remaining number of resources, that are 7, has to be allocated. So we have actually 10, so in this 10 we can allocate 7, so 2 plus 7, that is 9. So 9 has been released after the completion of P2, so totally we can have 12. Totally we can have 12 at the end of execution of all the three number of process, that is P1 and P0 and P2. But what order we have followed, which is nothing but P1, P0, P2. This is what the safe state. But when we can say that system will be converted to safe state to unsafe state, when we can say this will be changed to an unsafe state, let us see. Suppose in the same example, if you are getting one more request by P2, so instead of allocating 2 number of resources, if you allocate 3, if you allocate 3 number of resources initially to the P2 process. Now if you follow the same order, what happens, let's check. First we are executing this P1. So if you allocate 3 number of resources to the process P2, so you will be having only 2 tape drives. The available tape drives are 2. Okay, we don't have 3, we have only 2, because we have allocated 5, 5 plus 2 7, 7 plus 3 10. So totally we have 12, so 12 minus 10, that is 2. So the remaining available resources, which are nothing but 2. Now if you follow the same order, so first P1 has to be executed, so we are just allocating only 2 we have, so we have allocated and it will complete its execution. So P1 gets over and it will release all the 4 number of resources. So currently we have only 4 number of resources. Now what is the next process to be executed, that is P0. But P0, it needs actually 5 number of resources, which we don't have because we have only 4 number of resources. We cannot allocate all the 5 number of resources, so P0 has to wait. P0 has to wait. And then you're just going to check with the third process, that is P2. P2 is actually already allocated only 3, so it needs 6 number of resources, but we have only 4, which we cannot able to allocate for P2 process also. So it has to wait. It has to wait for indefinitely, right? So it leads to deadlock. It leads to deadlock. So in the same example, if you grant one more request to the process P2 initially, if you follow even the same order, then it will be changed to unsafe state. It will be changed to unsafe state. So there we can get the deadlock. We can get the deadlock. This is how we need to check whenever your request, we are allocating any resource to the requested process. We need to check whether it will lead to a deadlock or not. This is how we are just avoiding the deadlock, how we are avoiding the deadlock by this method. Okay, thank you.